G'day everybody and welcome back to the sweat box that is my shed. Brief update with the Fiat 450 Special, which we took apart last episode, and some stuff that I found through the week after work. I've been coming out and doing a little bit, and I think I found the cause of the problem. Let's go and have a look. Through the week I managed to get the last two pistons out, and that meant taking the oil pickup off, which was disgusting. And it's becoming really apparent that this tractor suffered from a lack of maintenance. We'll come back to the block in a minute. So the three pistons, when you look at them on the bench, you can already see the problem. Pardon me. So this is piston number one. This is the front piston. This is a 3-cylinder tractor. And it's not too bad. Nothing surprising apart from it's filthy. This is piston number two. Again, nothing surprised. Came out really easily. Wrist pins, everything feels good. And this is piston number three. And this is obviously the problem. And I'll just do the bolts up. I'll be able to pick it up without dropping shit everywhere. So it's got a bent connecting rod, and the pin is very, very loose, which is hard to show on camera. It's got a lot of left and right, and it's clearly bent. Now, the hot theory, and a number of people have suggested it, and I agree, is that the tractor was hydraulically locked, or it became hydraulically locked and it's just gone bang. Now, how does that happen? Well, we're not really sure. Now, you remember from previous videos, if you've watched them, that when we got this tractor, the engine was stuck. Through a series of events, we got it moving again, but when it very first started, it had the knock of death. It kept knocking, eventually it stopped, and then we had the clutch, turny, engine stucky, flywheel problem, and I still can't find the bits of the engine that came out of the sump. They're here in the shed somewhere, and I know it could never be seen again. So a question or a suggestion from a viewer was check the head, and this may give some sort of indication. I think potentially before I bought the tractor, somebody has run it, the head gasket's let go, and it's gone boom, and then they've parked it under a tree and they actually died. I bought the tractor from another fella who helped another fella help the other fella, and here we are making telly. So this is the head, number one, number two, number three, and it's pretty clear that at some point somebody's used a lot of goop on this tractor, and some of that stopped leaky stuff, and it's, you know, it's not pretty. It's not all bad, but it's not all pretty. The build-up of old oil and dirt and dust, and I mean, this head is going to go into a bucket of solvent and just sit for a week just to try and get it loose. There are some interesting colours and shapes, and you know, but that's a problem for another day. So looking at the block, again, I'm pretty happy with it. It does spin okay, but it has a little tiny tight spot. Now, is it bent? Well, we don't know. But this tractor also hasn't had any oil in the bottom of it now for about 5 months. So, and the tight spot isn't consistent. So it's not every revolution. So is it up here? Is it down there? I don't know. Going to come back to the block if we make the economic decision to fix this tractor, which brings us to the focal point of today. So I've spent a lot of time in the chair of reflection, which is from a 1993 Mitsubishi Delica, in the shed, contemplating whether we fix this tractor or not. It cost me 500 bucks. It cost 150 plus fuel to get it home, and probably $100 worth of oil and starter fluid to get it going. So I'm in a hole for about 750 Australian dollars, which is probably $3.50 US. So it doesn't owe me a lot of money at this point. Is it fixable? Well, everything's fixable if you want to throw enough money at it. What does it need? Well, that's the $64 million question. Until I get the bolts out of the crankshaft, which is next video when I've got everything I need to do it, and in all seriousness, it needs to be cooler in the shed because it's not very nice working conditions in here, and drilling and trying to easy out crankshaft bolts isn't a job when you're hot and sweaty and frustrated. So I'm going to put the towel back over that, and then we're going to have a look at how much could we end up spending to salvage a late, I'll call it late 70s, early 80s, I don't actually know when it was built, Italian tractor. Okay, so that's back under control. I do need to clean up a bit more in here. So, what's it going to cost? Well, let's start at the back and work our way forwards. We know nothing about the back of the tractor, apart from the fact I need a tube and a tyre, and maybe a tyre depending on how bad the split in the inside is, and it needs a wash. So there's about $150, and we'll keep mental count as we go. Going to need, well, I'll probably end up doing it if we decide to fix it, a new pressure plate in the clutch, only because it's off. Right, I might as well change it while I'm here. The clutch actually looks pretty good. We did find the bolt in the bottom, so we might have to easy out what's left of a bolt out of one of those holes. We need 6 clutch bolts. Again, probably not too hard. I'll either hit a wrecker up or I'll work out what sort of size bolt they are, but they still have to be found. So let's call that 20 bucks Australian. And yeah, that is probably the cost. The sump's all good, we just need the gaskets. So a full gasket set in Australia for this tractor, which is an 80-35.1 or an 80-36.1, pardon me, is between $120 and $150 delivered to my house. And that's pretty good. I don't need anything for the front end. I probably need to get the radiator checked if I'm going to fix it, so let's give it 200 bucks for that. And that's, again, unfortunately, that's probably the cost. I will fill it up and see if it leaks, and if it doesn't leak, I won't. But I did notice that it's got a little bit of a problem potentially here. It's not in bad shape, but while it's out, we might as well have a look. What are we up to? We're about, I'd say 300 or 400 bucks so far. Now, the head, let's assume the head's good. I know that's dangerous, but let's assume the head's good. We need one connecting rod and a piston if they don't clean up very nicely. And you can see on this one, it's probably not going to clean up very nicely. Now there's options there, he said as he throws everything around. What are you doing, dog? And the options are, buy a full in-tractor rebuild kit. So that'll give me pistons, but not connecting rods, and rings and bearings, and it doesn't touch the shaft bearings. Or I buy a full rebuild kit and rebuild the engine. Now I haven't priced that, but I'm imagining there's not going to be much change from $1,000, if any. If we can get a connecting rod off the wrecker and the piston cleans up okay, or if I have to buy a new piston, then everything else just needs a good clean. Apart from the water pump, which is rooted, it can barely spin. Like it's, so the water pump's a no-go. So we're gonna need a new water pump in Australia, $350. Filters and oil, $150. So as you can see, it's gonna cost me at least $1,000, maybe $1,500 over the next few months, because this is gonna take at least a couple of weeks to put it back together. I do have a spare headlight inside from the other Fiat in the front yard, and I think that's about it. Oh, the injector pump. So the injector pump leaks. We know it leaks. It's a huge $1,000 price tag, like $2,000 or $3,000 to replace. So that's starting to get uneconomic. So what are we going to do? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get the 6 crankshaft bolts out, and then we're going to try and see if that crankshaft is bent or not. Now, I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet, considering I'm in a shed and I don't have much ability or tools to, I don't have a dial indicator. I just don't have the gear to do it. So next time, we're going to get the bolts out. You all right, Chico? My dog's just there. And along the way, we're going to send an inquiry off to see if we can get a new piston, connecting rod, wrist pin, top to bottom. All right, we'll have a look at that piston, and I think I'm going to, unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to get a new piston. And at the same time, I'll see if the wrecker will sell me 6 bolts out of a clutch, 6, or at least get a price. I'm expecting to pay $150 odd for a connecting rod and a piston, because I don't have another tractor. So that's the plan, is get the bolts out, find out if I get the parts. If I can get the parts, get them on the way, and then start cleaning stuff. And then once I've got everything here and it's cleaned and etc, well, maybe we'll start putting it back together. That's all I got. That's all I can. I don't want to walk away from $750. I could scrap it and sell it. It would take months to get my money back. I'd have half a tractor, which is useless. And quite frankly, I don't have time. I'm either going to spend the time to fix it, or I'm going to haul it to the dump. And I don't like taking things to the dump, so we're going to fix it. Happy days. So there you go. Hopefully it cools down in the shed a bit and we can hook in. I have to buy about 100 litres of degreaser to put in the parts washer to start washing stuff, and I'll start washing stuff shortly and categorising it and cleaning it and getting gaskets off and all that stuff. The water pump will probably wait a little while. That's a big cost. That's actually the biggest cost probably of putting it back together. I don't think it's worth putting back on, but it's over there and it's clearly shit. So there you go. You're up to speed. We know why it went bang. We know why the clutch bolt sheared. The crankshaft isn't too bad, but it's not. Yeah, I don't know yet. I'm going to do some Googles about that and see how bad you're allowed to, I'm not an engine rebuilder. Quite frankly, the only one I have done went bang. So I don't want to do another one. And with that, you guys stay safe and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, just going.
Yeah, good. Just